Hi everyone, how's it going? Sean here again from Mako Create. We are back. We've had a couple of weeks off, but we're back better than ever. And we're here to do something different today. We're going to do some stop motion animation. Oh no, not stop motion animation. Oh, I've done that so many times. We're doing digital animation, cartoon style animation today where we draw it in. I'm so in the headset for stop motion animation. But you like stop motion animation? I'll tell you what, I'm going to do a segue here. You should watch some of the videos that we posted, probably a couple of months ago now though, by Ian Pye, who is in the room today controlling our buttons, doing all the wizardry behind the scenes. So Ian did some stop motion animation videos right at the start of lockdown, so it seems like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't even tell you whether it was weeks, months, whatever it was. Yeah, but it was a long time ago, I'll tell you that. It wasn't quite as, I don't want to call this fancy, but yeah, it's a little bit more DIY than this version, because it was in my house and it was just me. So it was a little bit manic and it had a few, let's say, rough edges. But what we actually went through was pretty good. So you can go back and start there if you wanted to, but this is something similar, but bit different.
Yeah, a bit different. So I think you're putting yourself down there. I think that's what this led up to. That's where it all started, and that's where we knew people actually wanted to tune into these things and learn some new skills. So I thought they were really good. I got to see your house and everything from it. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today, as Ian said, is a little bit different. We're going to be doing some digital animation and looking at drawing them and how we can do it. So I guess the first things first is making sure everyone's got the right setup. So we've seen some cool images in the past of people watching these videos on the TV or watching on a laptop or watching on a phone or a tablet, and then using another device to actually complete the actual kind of activity. We saw a load of those in our last game making project. So it's a bit of a similar setup today. You're probably best up with one device that you can watch the stream on and follow along with, and another device to take part in the activity. So I have an iPad in front of me, which I'm going to be using to run the session today. But the app that we're going to be using today is called FlipaClip. It's completely free of charge. If you've not downloaded it yet, press that pause button, download it right now, get it onto your phone or iPad or tablet or whatever it may be. Free app. There is kind of purchases available on there, but for everything that we're going to cover, you can do completely fine in the free app. You've just got to put up with a couple of adverts and things like that, but it's not too bad for what is an absolutely brilliant free app. So FlipaClip is the name of the app. So just make sure you've got that downloaded on your device and you are ready to go. Cool. So once you've got that installed, we'll start the project. So just before we get going, just to give somebody a bit of a shout out, this activity today was inspired by a video that I saw months ago now, but it was by a YouTuber that goes by the names of Ali Animations. It's a fantastic video and she's got loads of them on there looking at different ways that you can animate and things like that. So if you finish this video and you're hungry for more and you wanted to get on and straight away do something, check out Ali Animations. Lots of cool workshops and activities on there that you can do to increase your animation and things like that. All right, so without further ado, I think we should get stuck in. What do you reckon, Ian?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Fantastic. As always, let us know who you are, where you are, and things like that in the comments. We always like to know where people are watching us, how people are getting on and stuff. I think Ian's got a few questions lined up that he'll be dropping in throughout the session. So yeah, let us know who you are and where you are and if you're enjoying the session and things like that. Cool. Okay, so this is our first session. So what we're going to cover today is we are going to be looking at how to set up a fresh animation project. So how to start from scratch, how to get one done. We're going to be looking at frame rates and what they are and why that's important to set them right at the beginning of our project. We're going to be looking at all the different drawing tools that we can use. We've got pencils and pens and all sorts of things that we can use to make animations. We're going to look at something called stretching in our animations and why we do that. We're going to be using a technique today called straightforward animation. And again, I'll go into that a little bit more detail while we're doing the course. And last but not least, we're going to be looking at copying and pasting our frame view and then finally exporting. Just like with the other projects, we'd love for you guys to send us what you make at the end. So we'll go all through that as we get in on there. So without further ado, let's get stuck into actually doing some animating. So the first thing that we need to do is to find FlipaClip animation. I've actually got it in my dock down here. As you can see, I'm very organized on my iPad. I'm hoping everyone at home is as organized as I am with all these files with the correct names and things like that, and you've not just got pages and pages of apps. But everyone's slightly different, aren't they, I guess, with the way that they organize. I've used mine recently, so I've actually got it just at the bottom there. It looks kind of like I always think it looks like a radiation symbol, but it's actually like a film reel that they've got going on there. Mine's in there, so you give that a click and it will pop it up there. Again, yours might look slightly different. I've got some kind of previous projects that I've been working on and things like that up here in the top, and some movies that I've exported. Yours might look a little bit less cluttered than mine, I guess, because it might be the first time you used it, or maybe you've downloaded it and done a project on there, so maybe you've got 1 or 2 on there while you've been experimenting with it. But what we're going to do is start a brand new project, and to do that, what we do is in the bottom right hand corner we have this kind of red plus button, and we're going to give that a click, and what it does is comes up with this new box where we can set all the preferences for our animations. So the first thing we want to do is give our animation a name. So today I'm going to show you all how to make a kind of raindrop style animation. So I'm going to call mine Raindrop. So Raindrop. There you go. But obviously if you were making an animation of something else, you can call it whatever you want. It sounds dead obvious, but I would recommend getting into a good habit of trying to get your project names to sound similar to what you actually are animating, because once you get like me and you've got loads and loads of animations in there, it becomes a little bit harder to find what you were looking for, particularly if you want to go back and carry on working on one. So I'm going to call mine Raindrop. The next thing that you can do, if I click that done button, is you can click on choose a background. So if I just click where that white space is in the middle of it, basically that comes up with all these different styles of backgrounds that you're able to use. There's loads of different ones in there. We can even look at adding our own images and media and things like that. To start with though, what I'd suggest we all do is choose one which is one of these lighter coloured ones, because we're going to have a little bit of a play around first, so it doesn't really matter which one as long as it's one of the lighter ones. So I'm going to choose this one, and then the last thing we need to check is our canvas size and our frames per second. So I'm going to look at canvas size first, and it's automatically set to YouTube 720, and that's actually what I'm going to use today. But I just wanted to show you some of the other options just so you're aware of what they are and why you might use a different one. So for example, 720p is still HD, but you can actually go even more high definition with YouTube and look at the 1080p if you want. Those files are bigger, they take up more space. Oh, I think that I'm not sure if my my screen's frozen there a little bit. Ian, do you want to jump over to my my camera one just to make sure that it's actually refreshing at the right rate? There you go. So the YouTube 1080 one is a little bit more high definition. You can see at the bottom here we've got these large numbers, these amount of pixels that we've got on the screen at the time. So I'm going to use YouTube 720 today just because it makes the files a little bit smaller as we're going through it. But it's also got things like Instagram, and it's got 2 for Instagram. You'll see one says 16:9 and one says 1:1. What that means is that the 16:9 is kind of like a widescreen view. If I click on it, actually, we can kind of see it's the same frame rate as the YouTube one. So it doesn't actually make a difference between those two. But this 1:1 is 720x720. So that's if I wanted to make a square animation, I'd use this one. And I'll not go through them all, but it's got various ones for TikTok and all sorts of things like that. But for today's session, we're going to use the YouTube one. So once I've selected the right one, I just click on that tick box and there it goes. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is look at the frames per second. So it's currently set at 12, but I just want to click on it and see what we've got. And so as soon as I click on it, it's got a little bouncing ball animation, and they've set this so it gives you a rough idea of the quality of the animation at that frames per second. So if I drag this down, we can see that the quality here, now it's on 5, is a little bit more bitty. And what this means, I'm going to go back to 12 seconds, so it's a little bit. What it actually means is this is the amount of drawings or the amount of frames it would take to make 1 second of animation. So the way that animation works is it's lots of pictures that are played together or very close together, and it kind of tricks your eyes into thinking that something's moving or something's going around. It's very similar to how film works, but with animation we either get to, with stop motion animation, we get to move the characters ourselves and get them around there, but with drawing animation we draw the frames in slightly differently each time, and it tricks the eye into thinking that it's seen a movie. Persistence of vision, I think it's called persistence of vision, the kind of the technique that it's called that tricks your eye into doing it. So if I scroll down here and go back to 1, you see that it's starting at the top and at the bottom, and that's not a very good animation. It almost looks like the ball's teleported from one spot to another one, and as we go up we start to see that actually we're starting to look a little bit more like it. Yeah, there you go, you're getting to 8. And then I'm going to go and show you, so like a lot of professional animations, Wallace and Gromit and kind of cartoons and things like that you see on Cartoon Network or Disney will be done at 24 frames or even potentially up to 30 frames a second. And you can see that it's very smooth at that point. The problem with doing something at 30 frames per second, particularly when you're first starting, is that it takes a very long time because you've got to draw 30 pictures to get 1 second of animation. So I'm going to start us at 12. For this project. There you go. It's still quite nice, quite smooth, but nowhere near as smooth as it was with 30. But once we've got it back to 12, we click on the tick box, review everything that's in there, and then we're just going to click on create a project. And this is our project. This is where we can do everything. So what I want to do is just really quickly take us through some of the options that we've got in this project and some of the different things that we can look at. So the first thing I want to look at is our brushes. So brushes are what we call the tools that we can animate with. So I've got a pencil here, kind of an Apple pencil to be able to draw with, but if you've not got a stylus, you can use your finger to do it, and you can just put your finger on and you can kind of see what our line looks like. So I just draw and drag the line there. Equally, if you've got a stylus, sometimes it's nicer. You can use that to draw a little bit of a line on there as well as you're going through. So that is our kind of default pen. It's set to black, and we can kind of see that it's got a very thick line on there. I'm now going to show you my favorite button in the whole world. You possibly know this from the last one, but it's this one. It's right up in the top right hand corner on this one. It's kind of like a little circular arrow going backwards, and this is the undo. So I'm going to press the undo button a couple of times, and we're going to look at some of the other brushes that we've got in our options. So to change our brush, what we need to do is click on where this pen is, and it gives us a few more options to that. But just before we jump into that, what I want to do is have a look at the different style of brushes that we've got. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on this pen, and you can see across the bottom now we've got 4 options. We've got on the very left a pencil, then what looks like more of a paintbrush, then more like a fine liner pen, and last but not least a highlighter. So I'm going to start with the pencil, so I'm going to give that a click. We can see that this icon here on the side has changed to a pencil, and so I'm going to have a quick draw with this, and you can see the pencil's quite nice for when we're doing sketches. If we go over it a few times, it gets darker, the lines, as we've been going over it, a little bit like a pencil would. We can change things like the thickness and the color of the pencil. So the way that you do this is a little bit tricky to get your head around, but to change the thickness, just underneath the pencil, there's like a little circle with a dot in the middle of it, and if you put your finger or pencil in the middle of that and then drag upwards, you can see that just to the right of my finger there, you're getting to see the width of the kind of pencil that you draw in. So I'm going to go a little bit bigger, and now I'm sketching. It's a lot nicer for kind of shading something in, maybe a cloud, something like that. And just underneath that, we have got a little black square, and if we click into that, we've got this fabulous color palette that we can change from and go between and things like that. So we can change it to be, so for example, a red, or if we turn this circle around, we can go to any color in the rainbow we want. So maybe a nice blue. We can change the opacity here, so that's how see through the colour is as well when we're going through it. And we can even start setting up our own palettes at the top here of different colours that we want to use. But I'm just going to show us blue for now. So once you've chosen blue, or any colour you want, you can kind of have a little bit of a draw with get it onto there and do it. So that's the pencil. Really nice, as I say, for when we're using sketching. The paintbrush, let's have a little bit of a draw with this one. You can see different straight away. Now, it's a lot thicker, but it's actually quite fine towards the edges. Let's zoom in on this one. You can see that kind of like around here on some of the edges, it's a little bit finer. So what I can do is, again, make this a little bit bigger. Do some scoring, and what I want you to do now is just have a bit of a play around as I'm doing it now with the different brushes, what they look like. Again, we can change the color of them. We can change like a bit of red on this brush. Have a look how they interact with each other if we go over the top of them, how they look. So don't worry about your drawing being good at the moment. I'm just having a bit of a play around with the different styles. My favorite one is actually the fine liner one that we started off with here. Again, just a little bit of a draw of it. But just like with all the other ones, we can change the thickness of it by clicking on this circle and dragging up. And we can change the color of it. So again, if we wanted to make it blue, or if we wanted to make it finer again, we can change that and we can have a play around with it. The one that I'm not actually that big a fan of, but I'm not sure really why it's in there too much, but I'm see if I can find a creative way to use it, is the last one, which is a highlighter. I'm not sure how often highlighters are used in animation, but again, similar to all the other ones where we can kind of go over the top of things, we can change the width of the head of it, and we can change the color. But you can see on this one, it's very translucent as it's going across. So there might be some cool effects that we can come up for with that. Pink, yellow and pink and all in the highlighter colors, aren't they? Yeah. And so what I would advise you to do is just to spend a little bit of time having to play with those, finding out how they interact with each other, how you can use them, and yeah, just have a bit of fun, maybe drawing something rather than animating something straight away. But with that in mind, what I want to make sure we do is get on to animating during this session. So I'm going to go back to this paint pot at the top. So just to show you that again, to get out of your kind of brushes options, you can click, it's like a little paint pot at the top with the ruler and the paintbrush and a pen hanging out of it. If we give that a click, then we come back to this options here, and the second one down is our eraser. So if we give that a click, you can kind of start erasing straight away, and it gives you its standard settings. But just like with the pens and the pencils, you can go into more detail in this one. So something that I personally like to do is, well, for this one I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, but you can change how fine, they call it feathering, so the end of the eraser kind of like fades in and out. I quite like a hard eraser, so I'm going to drag this down, or you can drag it up, and if I drag it to 100%, you'll see that although it's erasing the middle part of it, it then fades out a lot from there. What I actually quite like is the opposite of that, so something like this, and it just erases everything. I suppose this could be really nice if you're making some kind of cool effect. It almost looks like lightning, that. I can imagine that maybe you use your eraser as a cool effect on something, but for erasing, I'm just gonna rub all this out and get me back to the start. So those are the tools that I'm wanting to go through with you at the moment. There are other ones, but I think that we'll go through some of those in some of the other weeks, and we might even look at the Lasso tool during the exercise today. But I think the Lasso tool will be easier to explain and talk about when we're showing it in position. So Ian, I'm just going to, just before we jump onto the next section, seems like quite a nice little break here. Have we had any questions through or anything like that from anyone? Maybe just shout outs and stuff?
Yeah, I've popped the question up of what's your favourite animation, and we have had some people coming back. Our very own Jack has thrown out The Simpsons there, so obviously the longest running ever sitcom, I think it is now officially. Right. So yeah, that sounds like it's fantastic answer.
Yeah.
And then we've had an answer from Jennifer Davis, which is Catch the Pigeon.
Catch the
I
Pigeon.
don't know if anybody. I remember that. Don't know if he's still doing the rounds, but
I remember the song more than the animation, to be honest with you.
Practically and Muttley. Yeah. I laugh a bit like Muttley. And then we've had a rather modest answer of Lisa Hollington. She said, my first test. I'm guessing that what she's doing with us right now is her first test, so maybe that might be her favourite animation, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, there's definitely something very fulfilling about creating your first animation. I'm looking forward to receiving them and getting those animations from you guys later on. Yeah, so maybe that's it. Maybe all these answers will be changed to your own animation after today. Wacky Races, that's what I was more aware of than Catch the Pigeon.
Hanna-Barbera Studios, that was my childhood growing up. Yeah, that and Transformers. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja
Turtles. There's a picture of me. We might get it on this in full Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle outfit. I was Raphael, I think. Although Michelangelo was my favourite.
I've got a good one here from Lisa Yull, I think it is, and she's put wonder and then she's not put the final word or words into her answer. So wonder something for me. And it's like, unless that is the answer and I'm just being really old and not knowing, but she's written wonder for me. So
I can't think what that could be.
I'm not sure. Lisa, if you can put us out of our misery, No, it's gone. Please let us know, because I won't sleep tonight if you don't put that in. I don't know what that is. But some fantastic answers in there. And then obviously we're leaning on old school animations where people actually drew with paints and inks and things like that, but we're doing the digital ones as well. So we're into the realms of Pixar and DreamWorks and all those guys right now. So going back to my childhood, right to like the next generation of childhoods and stuff. So anything like that, then let us know what your favourites are.
But I'd say, of course, is still massive at the moment, aren't they? You know, lots of networks like Cartoon Network, but even Netflix and things still commissioning kind of like these 2D drawn animations as well these days. So although it's easy to kind of like start thinking about the kind of Pixar 3D style ones, these are still a fantastic way of doing it. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're actually going to get started making our animation. We've had a bit of play around, a little bit of a look at the tools and things like that, but what I want to do is jump into actually making our animation. So to do this, actually, I'm going to change some of the settings in this project. So the first thing you want to do to be able to change some of the settings is in the top right hand corner, there's 3 dots. And something that I want to do is, the very top option there is project settings. So we're going to click onto project settings. And this brings up you might recognize it, this brings up the grid that we chose at the very beginning, the kind of options. So you can actually rename your animation if you want to and change the frame rate. But the one thing you can't do now is change the output for it, change the canvas size. So once you chose your canvas size, that's it, you are locked in on that. But everything else you can kind of change as you're going through it. So the first thing, I'm going to change the background. So I'm going to change it, and something that we didn't look at before was these 3 options down here. So you do have the option to take a picture and put that into your background. You have the option to choose a picture that you've already taken, and you also have the choice of choosing a color. I'm going to choose the color. Spoiler alert, we are going to be using those other options in the upcoming weeks to be able to add your own images and things like that. But because I'm doing Raindrops, I'm actually going to make the background of this one blue. So what I've done is I've just dragged this dot from the top of here to down here, but I'm going to drag it round about the middle, and I'm going to spin this wheel around to blue. And you can see what color you've got selected by the box just above the top left of the color wheel there. So this box here is your actual color that you're using. So if you want your blue to be darker, you can drag it down, or lighter, or more vivid. I want it to be kind of like this kind of color, not too far off the center. You're more than welcome to do the exact same or try and get the exact same color blue as me. But if you want to do yours a little bit darker or a little bit lighter, then I'm quite happy with that. Obviously, it's completely down to you. So once you're happy with your background color, you just click this tick in the top right corner, and you can see now that the background is blue. And I'm going to hit Save Changes, and now I've got a nice blue canvas here on my page. So Yeah, what we're going to be doing first and foremost is we're going to be drawing raindrops. So I'm actually going to change this to my, I'm not going to do any sketches or anything like that this week. I'm going to go straight in and go and try and draw mine straight off. So what I'd like everyone to do is to, let me do that again, sorry, jump into our brushes. So we do that by clicking on the brush type. And I'm going to change mine from the highlighter that's selected at the moment to the fine liner. So it should look a little bit like this. And I'm going to change it from the color blue to the color white. So to do that, white is dead easy to do. All you need to do is this ball here, just drag it to the top left hand corner, and that'll change your color to white. The top left hand corner, always light white. So I've got that, and the last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to check the thickness of it. So I'm going to, that might be a little bit too thin, but it's not too far off how thick I want my pen to be there, but might drag it a tiny bit up. Yeah, that's about right, I think. So what pixels am I on there? I'm on 10 pixels there. I'm quite happy with that. So if you want to be the exact same width as me, mine was on 10 pixels there, but feel free to kind of go as you like in there. So I'm just going to rub out those really quickly, those lines that I've drawn in there. And I'm going to start my animation. So I'm going to try and go about halfway in the middle of my screen. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a raindrop, but what I'm going to start is with my raindrop just off the screen. So the first one that I'm actually going to draw is, before I do that, I'm going to change one more setting to help me with my animation and get all my scales right and things like that. I'm going to change the setting. One of the things that we can do is add a grid onto the screen so that we can kind of see the different sections, and it makes it easier to know how far we've moved things. So to add a grid onto it, we go to these 3 dots again in the top right hand corner of the screen, 3 dots in line with each other. And option 4 down is grid. So we've got onion skinning on there, which should be on already, and the one below it is grid. And you can see that when I switch that on, suddenly these red lines go across it. You can, if you've got the paid version of the app, edit how big these are and things like that. But even without the paid version, you can still turn it on and just use the default one. So that's what I'm going to do for now. I'm just going to use this default grid. And it just helps us, as I was saying, kind of realize whereabouts the middle of the screen is, how to start animating and things like that. So again, I'm just going to tell you one more time to turn that grid on, 3 dots, and then 4 down, grid, just make sure that is switched on. And you'll get these red lines around there. So now I'm ready to start animating, and I'm going to start by just drawing a little kind of, oops, I pressed my undo button there by accident, redo. Draw a little kind of, there you go. Yeah, I'm happy with that. That's the very bottom of one of my raindrops there. So I might zoom in a little bit so we can see. So you can change your canvas size. Well, not change the size, but you can change how much you're zoomed in by pinching. So if you're struggling with drawing, particularly if you're using your fingers rather than a stylus, you can zoom in and it makes it a little bit easier as you're going around. So I'm zooming in a little bit here, 2 fingers, and I've got my first frame. I'm quite happy with that. Yeah. So what I'm going to do now is add another frame, and to do that, at the bottom of the screen here, there is our first frame, which is highlighted, and next to it there is another frame with a little plus symbol in it. And what I'm going to do is just hit that frame, and it's added another frame. So now I have frame 1, frame 2, and this plus button. You'll see that I can kind of still see my previous frame in there, and that's because of the technique what we call onion skinning. So again, if you've done any stop motion animation with us before, you'll probably be used to this, but what it basically means is it shows you what your last drawing was, so that it helps you with your new drawing, making sure it's about the same size, making sure you know how far away from each other it is and things like that. And so I'm going to draw another raindrop a little bit further down from this one. So I'm still not going to get the full raindrop in, but I'm going to kind of start it off screen here and try and, there you go. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that one. So I've got the majority of my raindrop in there. If you're not happy with yours, feel free to chuck the eraser out there, erase it, have another go at drawing it. or using the undo button and things like that if you want to get rid of it. I'm quite happy with mine, so I'm going to go on to the next frame again. And this is the first frame that I'm going to be able to see the whole of my raindrop. So this time I'm starting here. And it's really important with animation that we try and make sure that the raindrop is roughly the same size on each animation. You don't want it to start off big and end up being really small. You want to make sure it's kind of the same size all the way through. That helps the person that's watching it kind of make it feel more realistic. And something that we're going to do actually though in this one is we're going to look at stretching it and looking at where we want our animation to be. So at the moment in those first 3 frames, we can see that it's quite slow, our animation. It's kind of starting there and then it's going here, and there's not much gaps between the different frames that we're looking at. And what I'm going to do is speed it up a little bit now, because if you imagine a drip coming from a tap, it almost kind of like hangs onto that tap at the beginning, and then once it kind of goes, it quickly jumps down and falls down as gravity takes hold of it and it falls. So I'm going to go a little bit further down this time with it. And what I'm also going to do is stretch out my raindrop. Oh, I'll tell you what I'll do actually. I'll use this as an excuse to show you another technique. So I could, if I wanted to, draw another one of these, but what you can do is use the lasso. Now we've not looked at the lasso yet, but I'm going to give it a click. And what this allows us to do is kind of draw around objects. And once I've drawn around it, it's giving me a little square, and I can use this and use these sections on it to make things bigger or make things smaller or to move the location of them. So I don't want to actually make this any bigger because it's about the right size. But if I drew something and it was a perfect shape but not quite big enough, I might lasso it and then make it a little bit bigger. But what the lasso is also really useful for is that we can bring in our copy and paste elements to it. So what I'm going to do is, I'm really happy with this raindrop on this one. So I'm going to press this button up here at the very top, which looks like 2 sheets of paper on top of each other. And that's our copy button. So I'm going to press the copy button. And then I'm going to go onto a new frame. So again, I'm going to click the plus at the bottom. I'm going to press the paste button, which in this application looks a little bit like a clipboard, and that pastes that animation back on top. Now automatically it goes exactly where it was in the last one, but what I want to do this time is move it down a little bit. So I'm going to move it down to here. And that's quite a bit further than what we'd had in the previous one. Now what I'm also going to do is change the shape of this raindrop a little bit. I'm going to stretch it out. And one of the reasons why we stretch animations is to emulate or to show speed. So as something's moving a little bit quicker, one of the ways we can kind of show the audience this, as well as it actually just generally moving quicker, is we can stretch it out. So we can do that by kind of dragging this down here and it would stretch it out. But something that you've got to always remember is that you want the volume, the size of this to remain the same. So if I stretch it out, it actually makes the raindrop bigger because it's still the same width, but it's longer. So if you're ever stretching something out, you always need to make it thinner as well. So it should be the same total volume. So if it's longer, it should always be thinner so that it's the same volume. So obviously it's not perfect, but you're just kind of taking an estimated guess at kind of going, okay, so I'm making this a little bit longer. So I want it to be a little bit, it's a little bit longer, so it needs to be a little bit thinner. There you go, I'm quite happy with that one. Maybe still be a little bit too wide. There you go, I'm gonna go with that. And what I'm gonna do now is just preview my animation just so I can have a bit of a look at it. I've got 4 frames, so not even half a second, but just to make sure that it's heading in the right direction. If you ever want to watch your animation back, all you need to do is hit this play button here. And you can kind of see there it is, it's starting to fall. What I'm going to do is carry on with that. Right, so I'm going to carry on with these animations. Ian, just going to check just to make sure before I move on going through it, have we had any questions? Anyone struggling with anything, or does everyone seem okay? Anyone want me to go over anything again?
I asked the question, do you have any questions for Ian and Sean? And we had one, just put it up on the screen for Facebook viewers, the Simone Goodwin. Do your eyes water slightly when you talk about onion skinning? That's actually an interesting point, is that in different apps it's sometimes referred to as ghost mode.
That's a good point, yeah.
FlipaClip isn't the only animation app out there, and a popular one amongst our students is Lego Studio Make or something like that. Animating with Lego, digital Lego, that is, on the screen, and we know that app refers to it as ghost mode because it sounds a bit cooler. But onion skinning is kind of the official animating term for what Sean's doing right now with you. Do you use FlipaClip often? We will be completely honest with you, and it is a relatively new app. To us, the principles about what Sean is going through is the same and has been for centuries, since the beginning of animation, is that, like Sean said, the persistence of vision. I'm just going to get me and what Sean's doing up at the same time.
Okay. I thought people might be a bit bored of watching me.
No, definitely not. People want to see how to make it. So, but yeah, split that a little bit better. There we go.
There you go.
So no is the answer. We haven't used FlipaClip for a long time. For a while, sorry. But yeah, the principles are the same, and the beautiful thing about that is that, all right, the buttons will be in different places, but if you go and get a different app for whatever reason, it is available on iPad and Android, so you should be able to get it. But for whatever reason, if you can't, or you want to try something else out, then everything that Sean's showing you right now is exactly the same principles, so you should be able to transfer that from this app to a different app. And then technical questions. Louisa Kelly said it won't let me draw, and then she said she's fine now. But do you want to have a little estimate as to why she might not have been able to do that?
You might have just seen me do it actually then, but I was lucky enough that Ian was talking when it happened. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to undo this because I'll talk you through what I'm about to do next. But I just went onto this clip here to draw, and I still had my lasso selected. So I went to draw, and you can see that it's kind of coming up with a dotted line as I'm drawing, and that's because it's trying to make a lasso. Dead easy mistake to make. Just exit off. Also, if you have the eraser selected, really simple mistake, but I still do it loads, so you'll probably see me doing it on these videos as well. If it's not letting you draw, the chances are you've just not got this selected. You can tell what you've got selected because it's got this red highlighted color behind it. So if you've ever struggling to draw, triple check you've got your pen selected. Make sure you've not got it either so that the nib's so small that you can't see it at all, or that possibly you've got the same color as the background and things like that. So, but I would guess if she was already doing it, then the chances are it was probably just a lasso or rubber selected as a guess as what it was that was you struggling with there. So just while Ian was talking there, all I did was draw one more raindrop there, again a little bit longer because I'm kind of starting with these small movements towards the top, and then I'm starting to accelerate it, and then that's my last one. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make a little, my next frame now is important. I'm going to do a little splash. That one might be just a bit too wide, do you reckon? Maybe. So I'm going to lasso it. So again, lasso is really nice if you've made quite a nice drawing, but you just want to edit it slightly. So I'm going to make that one a little bit thinner again. So yeah, there you go. Looks a bit better. And my last thing that I'm going to draw now is like the splash, because I'm going to have it hitting the ground. So I want to do like a splash as that's hitting the ground. So to do that, again, if I had lasso selected, it won't let me do it. I need to make sure I've got a new frame selected. I'd already added this one in, but make sure you've got your new frame selected. And clicking on the highlighter, sorry, not the highlighter, the pen, the brush that I'm using. And a splash, I guess the best way of describing it, or the best way I can figure describing it, is it's almost like an upside down crown when it hits the ground. It's kind of like splashing out over here and splashing out over this side. And I like to do kind of like almost like an upside down U to connect these 2 points. So almost a little bit like that. You can be a little bit kind of, it doesn't have to be perfect, this section, because you know, it's a splash of water. It's not, doesn't have to be perfect. Oh, there you go, messed that bit up. So I'm going to use my rubber make it a little bit smaller. Go back to my pen. Something like that. Again, I might tidy that up a little bit around the edges. Connect them to a bit better. But yeah, something like that. A little bit of like an upside down crown. Just connect it at the bottom.
I would say for sure that's a regular way round crown.
Yeah.
As if it was going to go on somebody's
head.
It
is a regular way crown. I don't know why I'm calling it an upside down crown. You're right.
So just draw a crown.
Yeah, just draw a crown. Yeah. I don't know why it felt upside down for me when I was yeah. So I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do as well is I'm gonna do a couple of droplets that have almost like they've been flung off it, kind of show some more height, how high impact this was, how quickly it got into it. Maybe a couple of dashes over here as well. And then I'm gonna do one more frame, which is going to be like our puddle. So we've had our splash, and then it's kind of all come down to ground and landed. And I'm gonna draw a little bit wavy kind of thing, and again I'm going to neaten that one up a little bit, the section of it. And I'm going to draw, because I had a couple of splashes going out, I'm going to draw them kind of on the ground over there and things like that. I'm quite happy with that. Yeah, you could probably do a neater job of that. And I'm going to, now I've got my first kind of like my first raindrop, and so I'm going to hit that play button and see what I think of it. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. The only thing I'd say actually is now I'm looking at it, I think that puddle's a little bit too big, so just like we did before, lasso around it, make it a little bit smaller. I think that looks more realistic. Hit that play button. And you can see that the animation automatically just repeats it around and around and around. So I've only got it coming down once, but it loops it around for you so you can kind of see what's happening. So I'm quite happy with my first raindrop there. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to hit that stop button. So I'm going to repeat the process, but I'm going to have a few more raindrops in there. So something that I want to do is I'm going to not start my second one at exactly the same time. So I don't want all the rain kind of hitting the ground at exactly the same time. I want it to be like a little bit more, I guess, realistic, you'd say. So so that the different raindrops are falling at different speeds and from different timings and things like that. So I'm going to start this one from, I think, here. So when this one kind of starts falling, so on frame 4, I'm going to have another raindrop coming in from the right hand side. Now this time I'm going to make it look like it's a little bit closer to the camera, so a little bit closer to myself when I'm watching it. So to do that, what I want to make sure I do is I'm going to make the raindrop a little bit bigger so it looks like it's kind of closer to me as I'm doing it. So similar technique to last time, but I'm going to draw the kind of bottom of it. Oh, classic. There you go. That's not drawing because I've not selected my my marker over there, so my brush. So make this one a little bit bigger. I'm going to come at it like that size, I think. So there we go. We've got our first frame. I'm just going to do a little bit like I did before, kind of coming a little bit further forward this time. Oh, that one is terrible. So my favorite button in the world, undo, and come draw that one again. Yeah, a bit better. I'm all right with that one. A little bit shaky around this side, but I'll let it go. Then I'm going to go on to the next frame. I'm just doing very similar to what we were doing last time in there as we were getting it through. So I'm just going to quickly go through this section. No, I can do better than that one. Finding this one. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? Good technique for you. I'm struggling a little bit here because my hand's falling off the side of the iPad as I'm drawing it, and I'm kind of getting a little bit shaky as I'm drawing it because of that. If you're in a similar position, you don't have to use your canvas size like it is now. I zoomed in before, but you can move it across and things like that. So I was almost suffering them when I didn't need to. I can get my hand comfortable on top of it, and this time try and make it a little bit neater. There you go. Yeah, much happier with that, much easier doing it. So if you want to move your canvas around, you put 2 fingers on it, you can kind of drag it around, but you can also use your fingers and pinch on it as well to get it where you want it to. It'll always go back to how you wanted it to be, but yeah, you can just keep going through. And so I'm just going to keep going on this one now, and this one I am going to make it so that it falls a little bit longer. And then I'm going to do one more, I think. Yeah, one more, and then I'm going to have it splashing down. So this time I'm on the end of my frame, so frame 7. So I'm going to click on a new frame. And I'm going to do one more. And I think I'm going to see if I can fix that. There you go. Lovely, yeah. Happy with that. A little bit of editing. There we go. And I'm going to do again my splash at the bottom of the screen. So this time it's a bit bigger because it's a bigger. My upside down crown, clearly. As we're going through it. Maybe one more. Oh, that is rough there. I'm
just while Sean's finishing that off, I'll just chip in real quick. We've had a suggestion from Lucy Storer. So she just want to say that you can use the fade to black with the opacity on black and gradually make it darker. I'm not 100% sure what she's going at, but the beautiful thing is this is art, so it's down to however you want to draw it, but just interesting because obviously water is transparent, so it does have transparency settings in FlipaClip, so that could be something that you wanted to play around with on your app. So we've just got a solid color in the background, which is fine, but if we did have a picture in the background and maybe you wanted the rain to be like a light blue kind of color, you can make it transparent so that you would be able to see through the water into the background. And it has those transparency settings when you're choosing the color, Sean, you can set that, or is it on the layer?
The opacity, you can choose it depending on the pen setup that you've got. If you go on to, so for example, the pen one that I'm using at the moment does not have an opacity option. Oh, sorry, it does, yeah, inside the color here. So yeah, so once you chose the color, you can change the opacity of it down here, and you can something that we're going to talk about in a little bit. You use we've not used the fill tool yet, but there is a fill tool here that lets you choose a color. That one doesn't let you choose opacity though, unfortunately, with when you're doing that. But we're going to look at potential color in it. I've been quite basic in this one just because I wanted to get us going straight away, and we've just used one color and a colored background. But yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about you guys submitting your artwork to us in a little bit, and so what would be great is when we've got people's artwork and things like that coming through to us, is for you to show us how far you've gone with it and how interesting you've made your animation. So absolutely brilliant there. Yeah, suggestion. Yeah, there's tons of different things that we can do with this. I'm going to just do one more raindrop. So yeah, if anyone else has any questions or there's anything you want us to talk about as we're going through this, a lot of the time when they do these types of videos on YouTube and stuff, they do this a bit sped up, so you don't have to just watch me draw and everything, but we're going to do it live so you can do it along with us. But yeah, any questions or any suggestions and things like that, let us know, and we'll see if I can live put them in or live do some of them and things like that. So I'm going to do one more drop here on the left hand side, and just to kind of not to skip past that, what I've done here on this one to make sure I've started this one on frame frame 6 for me. I started it when this drop was full, but you can do it on frame 7. You can do it whenever you want, really. But I'm gonna, in fact, you know what? Yeah, I might have maybe done that frame later actually normally, but I'm gonna do it here. So let's have a quick look. So this one's my one that I'm making it full. Lovely. And yeah, again, same technique. Now it's kind of gone slow. I want to make this one a little bit longer, so it's going a little bit faster. So I'm going to start from here, and then one more long one, I think. Oops, accident here. I'm sure that I've done this on purpose, Ian, obviously to show people what can happen. But can anyone spot what I've done here? What my issue is? I'll tell you, but I've drawn two raindrops on the same frame. They're accidentally not moving across to my next frame quick enough, so I'm just going to undo that one, and then make sure I go on to the next frame. Dead easy to do. all you need to do is just undo it or delete it and then go back onto your next frame. Try and spot it though as early as possible, because you don't want to kind of have two drawings on one frame later on that you have to try and go back and fix and things like that. So again, let me draw this one in nice and long, nice and big. Okay, I think I'm just going to do one more for this one before I do the splash down.
Just while Sean's filling that in, Sean was unlucky then because he had the two frames that were the two raindrops on the one frame that were overlapping. But if it wasn't overlapping, then you could have utilised the lasso tool and just pinched it from the frame that it's not meant to be on and thrown it onto the correct frame. So not all is lost. Definitely don't need anybody throwing any tanties or wobblers or anything like that. Worst case is
tanties. I love that.
Tanties. You can tell I've got kids. Yeah, you don't need to panic. Worst case is an undo. Try again, but you might be able to use that lasso tool and copy and paste it onto the frame that it's meant to be on. Just a quick question. Somebody's saying, how long are we streaming for? All the techniques that Sean's going to go through are pretty much covered now. We're just going to show you exporting and how to send them to us, because we want you to do that, because we want to see the awesome work that you're doing. So bear with us. We're nearly done now, and we also want to show you some more stuff that we've got coming up online as well. So how are you doing, Sean?
Yeah, I think that's my animation pretty much done. Let's have a quick playback of it and watch it. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. So I've got the animation there kind of falling. I've got my raindrops. So something that I would normally do if I was doing this myself, and I think someone sort of already alluded to it, is it's quite easy, and I think it makes a big difference, but I'm a little bit conscious of time, is adding the extra little details on things that kind of can make it stand out. So something that you might want to do is look at adding stuff like a little reflection mark on the raindrops. So I'm not going to do this on all of mine, I'm just going to do it on some of these quickly, just so we can kind of see what it might look like and the difference it might make. Okay, so I've just done that one on the middle ones there, and you can see I think it makes it just look a little bit more realistic as it's falling down, a little bit those extra details that can make the difference. We could also look at colouring these raindrops in so they're a slightly different colour and things like that. But that's, I guess, something that we can leave for you guys to experiment with, and look forward to seeing what everyone's come up with in their finished things. Something that I do want to do though is I can see that I have from the bottom here 12 frames, so I have an exactly 1 second animation. When I play it back, it does me the nice favor of repeating it, and kind of so it automatically puts it into a loop for me. But if I was to export this animation at the moment, I just have 1 second's worth of animation, and so that's not very big. So what I'm going to do really quickly is just show you one more thing, which is how we can use the frame viewer to copy and paste big sections of our animation to make it last a little bit longer. So to do this, you click on the three buttons in the top right hand corner, and from inside there, one of the options, the second one down, is frame viewer. So we give that a click, and here we can see all the different frames that make up our animation. So if we've done a really long animation, this is sometimes useful just to find a different frame that we want and put it on. But it's really interesting, isn't it, when you look at them individually? It doesn't look like it's going to make a raindrop animation almost by looking at them this way. I find it quite difficult. But in the top right hand corner, there's a little box that's got like kind of a dotted line around it as well, and I'm going to give that a press, and when you press that, you see that all the frames have a red line around the outside of them now, and that just means that they are selected, so that what we can do with them what we want. So the first thing I want to do is, you might recognize this symbol at the bottom from earlier on, which is the two pieces of paper on top of each other. That's our copy symbol. So I'm going to give that one a press, and then I'm going to paste these frames again. So I've got 1 second here, and I want to have 4 or 5 seconds. What do you reckon, Ian? 4 seconds?
Yeah, sounds good.
4 seconds. So because I've got 1 second with all 12, just to say, if your animation is 13 or 14 or 10 and not exactly 12, that's completely fine. Just a bit of a demonstration. Don't worry, you're thinking, oh, I've not got 12. That's completely fine. But what I'm going to do now is paste all these 12 by pressing this button here on the right hand side. And we can see that suddenly, if I scroll down here, we've got 24, but that's 2 seconds, So paste it again one more time. I'm going to paste it again. And so now I've got 48. We didn't think we were doing maths here, did you, when you came to a animation workshop? But 48 frames equals a 4-second animation. And that just means now that when I export my video, instead of it being just 1 second, I'll have 4 seconds. In fact, you know what? I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to do a 5-second one. So yeah, press that one more time. And I have got now 60 frames. So I've got a 5-second animation. So lovely. So the last thing that we were going to do is show you how to export your finished animations. So click on my tick box here to go in the top left hand corner to go back to how things were, and then click on frame, this arrow again. And now we can see at the bottom we've got loads and loads and loads of frames, which is cool. Helps us easily work our way through them and see what's going on. As I was saying with Ian before, it'd be great to see your animations. And so for us to be able to see your animations, what we need you to do is to export them so that you can send them to us so that we can see them. So to do that, what we do is, again, go back to our 3 dots in the top right hand corner of the screen. And the very bottom option in this menu is Make Movie. Oh, I should say as well that we've got the grid on, so if you wanted to watch your animation without the grid on, you could turn that off and watch it back. But it doesn't, even if you've got the grid on, it doesn't export it with them red lines going across the screen. It takes them off automatically as you're making the movie. But I've finished animating now, so I might turn it off anyway. But all we need to do is click on the Make Movie button. And it triple checks that you still want to call it Raindrops at the beginning. You might start an animation and actually go, do you know what? I don't want to call it Raindrops. I want to call it Water, or I want to call it, maybe I started an animation and then I changed my mind halfway through and I wanted to change it. So I'm going to keep mine as Raindrops, but you could change that the format. I still want it to go YouTube 720. MP4 is fine. Quite a versatile video format. Works on everything pretty much. You might not have the option. In fact, if you've got the free option, you'll have to have a little FlipaClip watermark on there. It's not the end of the world. You see loads of animations with them on. I've got a paid version, so I can turn that off, but you won't be able to unless you have that. I saw that. I think for some of the options, there's a watch an ad and will give you this option for free type of thing. So you might be able to get that for free. You might not. And then the last thing you want to be able to do is hit this Make Movie. And it tells you at the bottom here, it's saying this is going to be 5 seconds with 60 frames at 12 frames per second. All of that we already knew. So I'm just going to click on that Make Movie. And it's saying, oh, Sean, you've already done a Raindrops animation. Do you want to replace this one? I'm going to replace it. It probably won't ask you this question. And look, it does its magic and makes you a movie. So the longer your movie is, the longer it takes it to be able to do that. The animation that me and Ian would like you to send to us this week, we're going to set you a challenge of don't want it to be any longer than 10 seconds. I quite like that for us. So make that in your mind if you're doing your own animations. You could do as a really cool Raindrop one. You could do as a really cool other project, kind of something from your own imagination. That's all completely fine, but we want to give you a 10-second limit on it, I think, so that we're keeping the file sizes quite small. So now that I've got this video ready to go, it says, are you ready to share your movie? And so I'm going to click on that share button at the bottom. And we've got a couple of options. If you've got a YouTube channel or a Facebook channel, you can share that directly to those channels by just clicking the relevant link, as long as you signed in and stuff like that. I'm going to save to my device, and then if you're saving it to your device, you've got lots more options there. You can pretty much put it wherever you want. In a chat, you could send it as an iMessage or a WhatsApp message, or put it out as a tweet, on lots of different things you could do with it. So I'm going to share it save it to my device, and it's saying it's saved. It's a photo library. Obviously, if you are on a Android device, it might look slightly differently, but it's pretty similar. I believe we've had Paul testing it, who's an Android lover in the Mako office. Big shout out to Paul. Not sure if he's in the comments today or not, but yeah, he loves his Android devices, so it might be slightly different for Android, but that's it. That is your video saved. And if I went to my photo library now I'd be able to watch it and share it with people and things like that. So that is the exporting of the video complete. The last thing that I want to show you is how you can send your animations to us. So to do that, what we want to do is jump onto our website. So let me get it up here myself so we can have a quick look at it. There we go. I believe Ian's got the magic skills to be able to show my laptop. There it is. Fantastic. So we're going to go into, if we get onto our website, which is www.makocreate.co.uk. Oh, I didn't know if he'd have that ready. He's on it today, Ian. Makocreate.co.uk. And if we go to our projects page, our projects will load, and what's this? Very exciting. We'll talk about that in a second. And to share your animations with us, we go to our Drawing Digital Animations online project, which is this first one on the left hand side. And we've got cool graphics on there, and then quite a bit of text. This just looks like, if you wanted to know what's going on in each of the weeks, you can see what we're going to be doing each week and how you can get on it. So I know some of you might be watching on Facebook, but we're also going live on Twitch and YouTube and Periscope and Twitter. That's right, isn't it, Ian?
Correct.
Out on all of those. Brilliant. And who it's for, prices and things like that. But if we scroll down to the bottom, we've got these sections here. So if you're wanting to watch this video again, you can actually click on this button here. I don't want to click on it right now because I'm scared I might open a wormhole of me watching myself watch myself. What I'm going to do is, you can see that we just have a button here that says submit your animation here. So that's the button we press. And a little bit like when we were doing the game design project, the pixel art game design project, we've got this section, very simple, the maker's name, so the person that's made the animation, the maker's age, an email address. If the person that's made the animation is under the age of 18, we'd like it to be a parent or guardian's email address that you send to us. And we've got this option here that allows you to upload a file. So you can go to this from the device that you've actually made the animation on, and you should be able to link there to be able to upload a file and send it to us directly through that link. So yeah, we're really excited to see any animations that you've made. It's great if it's the Raindrop ones that you've done and you've done a really good job. Maybe you've taken it a step further. Maybe you've added in some clouds. Maybe you've added in lightning bolts and things like that. But if you want to animate something completely different and share that with us, we'd love to see those as well, wouldn't we, Ian?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I'll throw this out there. We'll have it as a live discussion here, Sean. We haven't actually done any prizes for this week's, but what we have is some stop motion animation kits here at Mako. It's not the same, similar principles, but you're using physical things rather than stuff that's on the screen like Sean's showing. But we could definitely throw some of them.
Yeah, I think so. I think we've got a stylus as well. Like we could put in that pack. So you're doing it with your finger this week. Nice little pen stylus, very fancy. I quite like them. Good pen as well, decent pen. We've not cheaped out on them. So yeah, maybe we could use those as a little bit of a prize. Yeah, unfortunately we've not got any kind of sponsorship or anything like that for this one. That we've got cool prizes, but I think those packs are pretty decent. Yeah, I'm happy to give one of those away. Yeah. So yeah, make sure you do that. One last thing to let you know about is that if you've enjoyed the session today, just like with our last project, what we're going to be doing is a free weekly live stream. So like this, we'll be going out live, showing you every Monday, showing you a different technique, what we're going to be doing. But we'll also be going to do our private sessions. We called them expansion packs last time, but calling them private sessions this time. And they are sessions where you'll be working with myself and Paul, I believe it's going to be, and we do them over video conference. So what that means is we'll be doing going into more detail, doing a really cool animation with you, and we're going to be running those on Thursday mornings, I believe. And if you go on our website, same places where you submit your game, just below there, we can see that we've got our private session 1, bouncing ball video ticket tutorial. And so these are ticketed events. There's only 15 tickets available for each one. We're going to be doing one each week. We can see that it's Thursday, the 9th of July, 10 to 11. If you're interested in those, you can click on there and it'll take you through to Eventbrite, I believe. I've not tested this, so let's make sure Jack's been doing a good job on the website. Hey, look at that, yes. So we've got tickets available here. They are £10 plus booking fee. That takes it to just over £11. But yeah, you get to speak to us as we're going through it. We can answer any questions you've got, show you some cool things. And on this one, we're going to look at physics and have a bouncing ball going across the screen and how that changes and how we can use squash as well as stretch and using layers. And so it goes into a little bit more detail. So if you've enjoyed today's session and you want to carry on learning and develop these skills a little bit further, can't recommend that enough. You also get to speak to me on a Thursday morning. So what more could you ask for? What a great way to finish off your week. Finally, I think the last thing that I'm going to push is for a session that we've got starting tomorrow. So for anyone that is interested in doing more creative workshops, or you really enjoyed our last computer game design project, you can see here on our second, right next to the one that I'm going to be delivering, we have a retro video games mashup session. So this is the same time tomorrow, so Tuesdays at 2 p.m. It's not me, unfortunately. Don't use that to not tune in. It's Paul, he's lovely. He'll be running a retro video games mashup, and on this one, what we're going to be doing here, you can see this cool graphic that Ian's put together. We've got Sonic with Mario's heads on, Pokemon and Yoshi, and Bowser and Dr. Robotnik on top of each other, kind of thing, or Bowser in Dr. Robotnik's flying thing, and Link and Metro Man?
Mega Man.
Mega Man? Never a fan. Rubbish. Anyway, we're going to do a retro game mashup project, and it's going to be looking at building on from what we did in the last project. We're going to be making retro 2D platformers, and we're going to be showing you how you can implement all your favorite characters and design favorite things and mash them all together. So you might have a Sonic's themed level, but you've got Mario going through it, or you might have a Pokemon character, but it's in Link's World, Zelda. So yeah, whatever you want to do, Paul's going to be there. And again, similar process to this, completely free of charge to view the live stream tomorrow at 2 p.m. Yeah, I think we've got through everything there, Ian. Is there anything that I've kind of missed out, or any questions that we were desperate for people to ask us, or anything like that we've not been through there?
I don't think so. I think we've done a pretty good job there. It's been a really good introduction. We did have somebody asking if we used a different animation app as well, and I personally hadn't heard of it before. It's gone from in front of me, but as we were saying before, the principles, they'll be very, very similar. The tools will be very similar. They might look a bit different, they'll be in different places, but what Sean's gone through there about stretching things, making things different sizes, but taking up the same volume in terms of a teardrop, use that in any app that you've already got, that you love, that you like, that you're using. So
what we're going to try and do is make sure that the principles that we teach you during these sessions will be the same no matter what app you're using. There are literally hundreds of animation apps out there. I love FlipaClip for two reasons. One, it's free. That's always good. That always gets in my book and two, it's really quick and easy to get started with it. Slightly limited in terms of the brushes and things like that, but what you can do is make some really cool stuff. Also, a good tip, if you want to be inspired, if you put FlipaClip animations in YouTube, you'll see some of the amazing animations that people have made using this app. So we love it. It's free. It's available cross-platform, so you're Android or iOS user, you're both able to get it. And so yeah, we love it, but there are tons and tons of different animating apps out there. So if you prefer another one, that's great. You'll be able to do pretty much everything that we do in these live streams in any of the other animation apps. Obviously, it might be slightly different way of going about it, but all the principles will be exactly the same, that we're going through. So hope everyone's had a good time. I've enjoyed being back. I can't lie, I did enjoy a couple of weeks off, but it is quite nice to do these live streams again. I'm just excited to see what you guys all come up with and animate and share with us. So thank you very much for tuning in. Like and subscribe.
I was just about to do the social media plugs. You mentioned YouTube. I was going to segue in. So usual. We did name drop Ali Animations on YouTube at the beginning, but if you want more from us, then Make or Create UK, we've got our own snazzy URL, so that works, youtube.com/Make or Create UK. And then all the usual places. I think we've got the like dominance on Make or Create UK now. So wherever you are, just stick that in. You should be able to find it. So Instagram, Make or Create UK, Twitter. We have been going out live on Twitter as well. So using Periscope. So if you want to find us on there, Make or Create UK. And obviously we know that a lot of you are already on Facebook, but if you're on YouTube and you want to find out more news about what we're doing, events and that kind of thing, then Facebook's a great place. So again, just search on Facebook for Make or Create UK and you will find us, I am sure, and you will be blown away. While we're talking about Facebook, these streams have cost you nothing. So if you've got a spare 30 seconds, head to that reviews section or recommendations, thumbs up.
Positive reviews.
Just say that was amazing and it was free and it was boss, and I'm going to definitely tune in next week.
I'm going to try and grow a beard like Sean. Anything like that, as long as it's a positive one.
If that's what you've been inspired to do, you don't want to do any animation, you just want to grow a beard, or an animation of you growing a beard. There you go. That could be a good one.
That would be quite a nice idea.
Yeah. So just show us some love, basically. Don't cost you much. Doesn't cost you anything. 30 seconds of your time. We'd love it. Yeah. That's us, isn't it? I think.
Yeah. Sure. Enjoy the rest of your week. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. Paul, I'm sure he's gonna absolutely smash it with his retro video game design. And hopefully I might see a few of you on Thursday morning. And I'll see the rest of you next Monday. Over and out. Take care. And yeah, we'll see you soon. Bye.